This is the Savvy Investor radio show and podcast. For help with your retirement, schedule a 15-minute phone conversation with the team at ProStatus Financial Advisors today. Just call 866-597-1040 and at thesavvyinvestorradio.com.
And welcome once again to the Savvy Investor Radio Show and Podcast with the team at ProStatus Financial. Mike Canet is here. Ryan Herbert is here. My name is Randy Cook, and we have some fun each week talking about the subject of retirement, and some of the ways we get there are a little weird, so we're going to do that again today. All right. So, Mike, you are Mr. Food and Mr. Wine, Mr. Drink. You love that area of life. You are a master in the kitchen. So I've got some fun for you. This is a study of the University of Michigan on what we eat and the poor decisions we make and how it's hurting us. So if you're going to go to a football game, look at this one. It says for every hot dog that you eat, you will lose 36 minutes off your life. For every slice of bacon that you eat, you will lose 6 minutes off your life. And for every diet drink, you lose 12 minutes off your life. Mike, are we going to make it through the end of the show today or not?
Absolute BS on that. Just absolute BS. I'm not sure. Those scientists absolutely have an agenda. First and foremost, how does any kid make it out of childhood alive? For 36 minutes, they take 36 minutes off their life every time they eat a hot dog. I mean, I don't know. What does the average kid eat hot dog wise? A bazillion of them, but under 18 years old. Oh, yeah. Half the kids, pizza, chicken nuggets, and hot dogs are the only thing they eat for 10 years. Yeah, right?
My oldest daughter, that's what she likes to eat is hot dogs. You know, she doesn't like hamburgers. So if a kid's menu has a hot dog, she's either getting a hot dog or she's getting filet mignon. But most times,
yeah. and bacon every six minutes for every slice of bacon. Yeah, I wouldn't even be on the radio today if that was true. Because I mean, there is. Have you ever had candied bacon?
Candied bacon? Yes, I have. It's really good.
I love candied bacon. I love candied pork belly. And what you do with it is you have to cook it really low and slow. You have to cook it on a rack. So I cook it at 300 degrees in the oven. Got to put parchment paper down on a sheet pan. You put a rack over the top of it. You put it in the oven. But what you've done is you've taken a mixture of probably like a cup to cup and a half of brown sugar, maybe a tablespoon and a half of red pepper flakes, and maybe a teaspoon of black pepper. Mix that up really well. You just kind of lightly spread it over the strips of bacon. You got to use thick cut bacon and cook it till it's the crispiness that you like. I don't like it super crispy, but I don't want it like European style where it's still raw and rubbery. But 30 to 45 minutes later, and I'm telling you right now, that on a Hawaiian roll with fresh tomatoes, a little bit of that Japanese mayonnaise, and some nice green lettuce, some bib lettuce, that is the cat's meow. I mean, that is the best BLT you'll ever have, the best BLT you ever have. Just absolutely fantastic. You can do a pork belly or bacon, and that is a staple in our house. It is absolutely a staple in the house. So the fact that 6 minutes, I'm already dead.
Just listening to that, you've lost 5 minutes off your life. I guarantee you, folks.
I take about an hour off my life every Saturday morning when I cook a whole thing of bacon for the girls. Right. And then eat half of it myself.
Right. It's just yeah.
All right. Where are we going with this? All right. I'll tell you why. So we make good decisions, we make bad decisions in our life. Right. We make poor decisions, we make good decisions. All right. We on this show are always talking about the good decision that you can make to sit down and work with a financial advisor, to sit down and say, okay, I'm not an expert at retirement. Mike, you've been through this 1,000 times. Tell me what I'm in for. Tell me what do I need to avoid. Tell me what I need to do. And according to the people at Northwestern Mutual, they've done studies about people who work with financial advisors and people who don't. And the people, it's literally like buying back time. People who work with financial advisors on average will retire 2 years before the person who doesn't use an advisor. Would you believe that, Mike?
Yeah, I would, but I want to talk about what an advisor is and what a financial planner is, because those are two different definitions, right?
Okay.
An advisor, first and foremost, you have to decide whether you want to work with an advisor, and their job is to basically recommend products to you. And when I mean products, that sounds pejorative. I don't mean it that way, but recommend an annuity, a stock, a bond, a mutual fund. That's their job. They recommend an investment vehicle for you. but they don't have what's called a fiduciary duty, right? An advisor doesn't have a fiduciary duty in general. A financial planner does have a fiduciary duty. If they say, I am a financial planner, they have a fiduciary duty to look out for your best interests. So first and foremost, from my perspective, do you want to work with somebody who has a duty to look out for your interest, or do you want to work for somebody that has a duty to look out for the best interest of the company that they work for, right? So when you work with an independent financial planner, that planner works for you. When you make money, they make money. When you lose money, they lose money, right? So they have as much as you can align your interests. My opinion is as much as you can align your interests, an independent financial planner is your best bet. And there's nothing wrong with working with the big wirehouses. If you want to work with the Merrill Lynches and the Morgan Stanleys and all those guys, that's fine. But they work for the bosses at Merrill or at Fidelity or Morgan Stanley or whatever company it is, right? And it's not that they're giving you bad advice, but at the end of the day, they work for them. Their paycheck comes from them. Their bosses dictate, here's the vehicles you're allowed to use. Here's the vehicles you're allowed to talk about. Here's the strategies you're allowed to use. I mean, think about this. Most big companies out there put on their statements, don't talk to us about taxes. How is it if I am looking out for your best interest, if I have a duty to look out for your best interest, that I can give you an investment advice, I can make a recommendation on how to create income, how to invest your money, and not be able to have a conversation about the tax implications of that very advice I'm giving? I mean, who in their right mind, if you went to a financial advisor, a financial planner, and he said, look, I'm going to invest your money, and I'm pretty sure you're going to lose 20 to 30% every year. Of all the money you make, you're going to lose 20 to 30% right off the top. Would you say, oh, that's the relationship I want? Absolutely not. That's insane. Why would you allow yourself to be in a relationship where almost every dollar that you make is going to be subject to losing 20 to 30% right off the top? And that's what so much of our industry is about. They don't understand the estate planning implications. They don't understand what it means to have beneficiaries. We had a workshop just recently. It was amazing. Faisal, one of our advisors, was talking about some estate planning issues, and he talked about doing a life estate deed to avoid probate. And a real estate agent said, I've been in this business for 20 years. I've never heard of that. Well, you're a real estate professional. How do you not understand the simplest things of what it means to put a beneficiary on a piece of real estate? Well, as a financial planner, don't you want that type of relationship? Don't you want to be in a relationship with somebody that can actually look at things like not just, should you buy this stock, this bond, this mutual fund? And by the way, you probably should never buy a mutual fund unless that's your only choice. But, this is the annuity you should have. These are the structured notes you should have. But if that's the limitation of the relationship, to me, that's not a true financial planner. A true financial planner, yes, does all those things, but they're also going to talk about the tax implications today, and they're going to be able to talk about the tax implications 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and 20 and 30 and 40 years down the road. They're going to be able to talk to you about and say to you that, listen, we could do tax planning for you, but more likely than not, there's going to be money left over, so we can do tax planning for you and for your kids. And if your kids are good stewards with the money like you've been, we could do tax planning for you, your kids, and their heirs, your grandkids. And you have a choice. Do you want to work with that person that can look at the picture from that perspective and do 3 generations of tax planning? Or do you want to work with somebody that gives you a piece of paper and says, sorry, I can't talk to you about taxes. Go talk to somebody else? Do you want to talk to somebody who understands the implication? We're dealing with somebody right now. They want to leave their estate, and it's a very sizable estate. And they came to us because of a podcast. It was absolutely fantastic. And they're working with an advisor, and the advisor has beneficiaries on everything like he should, which is good. And the advisor sent them to an attorney, and the attorney set up a trust like they need. And the attorney, what they want is to make sure that no matter what happens, their one son, we're going to call him Christopher, that no matter what happens to the money that goes to their son, it never goes to in their eyes, and I'm doing air quotes here, the evil stepdaughter. I mean, the evil wife, right? So they want to make sure that when Chris passes away, none of the money ever makes it to his wife. They want it to stay in their bloodline. Well, this guy, their advisor, sent them to an attorney who then set up a trust for them and put the money, when they die, the money goes into trust for Christopher, just like they planned. but Christopher is in charge of the trust. So what does that mean? When he showed me the trust, I was like, well, that doesn't do what you want it to do, because Christopher is in charge of the trust. When you guys die, Christopher is in charge of his own trust, which means Christopher can take the money out of the trust and give it to his wife. They can go buy a new house and it's in their name. It defeats the purpose. Christopher can't be in charge of the trust. And they're like, what do you mean? Our advisor didn't tell us that. Yeah. And their attorney didn't tell them that. That's insane. And that's my point, that yes, Northwestern is probably correct. When you work with a true financial planner, you probably are going to be able to retire earlier. You probably are going to be able to retire with more income, because that's what we do. And rather than spend hours and hours, I mean, quite frankly, that client could have Googled 970,000 hits on revocable trust and never got the answer that I gave them in 5 minutes. But for me and for Ryan and our team here at ProStatus, that's exactly what we think every single person deserves as they go through retirement. Everybody should have a comprehensive plan. And comprehensive plan does not mean stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and annuities. Comprehensive plans means this is how I'm allocated. This is how my income stream is going to work. This is how my income stream is going to work today, tomorrow, and in the future. This is my tax plan today and tomorrow. This is how we're going to reduce your taxes. I mean, imagine sitting down with a true financial planner and they say, look, you have a choice. Do what you do now and you're going to pay $300,000 in taxes. Come to us, you're going to pay $100,000 in taxes. Imagine having a conversation that when you die, your heirs are going to pay $1 million in taxes, or working with true financial planners and say your heirs are going to pay $400,000 in taxes. Those are the choices you have when you're picking with whom to work, right? You want to work with a financial planner, but you want to make sure that financial planner actually does financial planning and does not wear blinders and only talks about stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and annuities. That is not, maybe life insurance. That is not, from my perspective, what you want as you're going into retirement from your financial planning team.
You're listening to the Savvy Investor Radio Show and podcast with the team at ProStatus Financial. Mike Canet is here. Ryan Herbert is here. And we're talking about the advantage of working with a financial planner, a financial advisor, and then the people who try to go it on their own. Now, Ryan, I would imagine that you've seen both cases. You've seen people who you've worked with and gone on to have successful retirements. And then you've had people who've come in who've tried to do it themselves. I always think of, I drove into my driveway one time and I looked and my lawnmower was there and there was a pool of oil underneath it. I was like, great. Okay. So I took a run at trying to fix this thing and it didn't work out too well. And I went back to the repair shop with a bucket full of parts and said, please fix it. That's not what you want to do when you go into retirement. Somebody goes out there, like stories that you've told of people who've spent too much money or they pulled it from the wrong place and all of a sudden they come with a bunch of oily parts and say, Ryan, fix it. So talk to me about how you see the advantage of working with a financial planner.
The benefit of working with a true financial planner is that you have someone who, hopefully they're not brand new to the industry, but nothing against that. Everyone has to start somewhere. But, you're working with someone who has experience in creating these financial plans and has a history of, successful retirements for their clients. And one of the things that people often ask when they come in and they sit down with Mike or myself or any one of our other advisors is, can we talk to some of your clients about, their experiences and about what's going on? And of course, we're more than happy to give out to our raving fans. But, it really is, working with an advisor is laying out not just here's what happens the day you retire or here's when you're going to retire, but it's laying out here's what happens 5 years into retirement, 10 years into retirement, 20 years, 30 years. And then we go beyond that. Here's what happens when you pass away. Here's how we make sure that everything goes to your heirs the way you want it to go, like Mike said, making sure that it's going to the people you want it to go to. Here's how we make sure it happens as smoothly as possible. Here's how we make that happen as tax efficiently as possible. And then let's bring it back to the current time. All right, now we're getting ready to retire or we are retired. How do we make this as tax efficient as possible and make all of those pieces work together without you having to be the middleman, without you having to say, all right, Tom Smith, my advisor, I need someone to help me with taxes. Oh, go see my buddy John, who's a CPA. Then you go over to John's office, say, all right, I need a will, and they send you over to Tom Jones estate planning, and they handle that. And then you have another question about your finances. You got to go back to your advisor without you having to be the middleman, without you having to go all over town. working with a true holistic planner brings everything under one roof and in one place.
And I think, we were talking about this before we went on the air earlier today. And the story about the guy with the variable annuity that was working with a planner who called himself a planner, who did not understand what he was doing. I mean, that's a prime example of what we're talking about.
Yeah, and the case was Lawrence and myself had a client come in. He's a doctor up in the Towson area. He came in to the office and was, really concerned about making sure that his wife is going to be taken care of because, I know I have enough money. I'm going to work as long as I possibly can. And they certainly do. They have about $5 million worth of nest egg. But he wanted to make sure that there's a plan in place if something happens to him, so his wife is taken care of. And one of the things we ask for when people come to our office is we want to see all your account statements. We want to see your estate plan documents. We want to see your tax returns. We want to see everything so we can really come up with a holistic picture. And they had a variable annuity like Mike was talking about, and I can't remember the exact values, but there was about a $300,000 difference between its guaranteed value, meaning the income benefit to what it's paying the income on, and what the actual policy was worth for its cash value. And Lawrence and I had been talking with them about doing Roth conversions and starting to do Roth conversions on this annuity. That way, when the income's coming out of it, it's tax-free income for them. And when they had come and sat down, they just provided us with the first two pages of their tax return. And I said, all right, before we go any further, I want to see the full tax return. I want to see
little gems involved. There's little gems on those back pages.
I want to see all the back pages because there's often something that's missing. I'm going through things. And, I get to the end of this massive, massive packet that the tax preparer had given them. And in there's the 8606 tax form, which means that they have after-tax dollars inside of their IRA, meaning that every time they take money out,
the kiss of death.
When they start taking money out of this annuity, that's all IRA money, some of it is pre-tax money that they're going to pay tax on, but some of it is after-tax money that they don't have to pay tax on. And the problem that was there is that, Mike has talked about another doctor, the client that he has, is that since he was still working, had the money just been inside of a traditional IRA and it hadn't been put into this vehicle for all these years, is I could have taken that IRA and shoved it back inside of his 401k, because what that enables me to do is separate out that after-tax money, meaning that I could instantly put the money in, and since he was over 59 and a half, take it right back out, but say, okay, $175,000 of this money is all after-tax money, and drop it into a Roth IRA very easily, no problem. But right now, they have this situation where every time they take money out, some of the money is pre-tax, some of the money is after-tax, and because there's such a disparity in the benefit that this variable annuity is going to pay versus what it would pay if they just walked away from it. This is a problem that I unfortunately cannot fix. And it really was a matter of, had the advisor been looking at their tax return when they first came to them 10 years ago, because I guarantee you this after-tax problem has been going on for a lot longer than that, and seen the tax return, he could have said, hey, this is what we need to do to fix this problem and help save you guys some money in taxes.
And he still could have sold him the same variable annuities. So he could have sold him one Roth variable annuity and one IRA variable annuity. So he could have made the same commission either way.
Yeah.
But because he did not understand the tax implication, quite literally, he has screwed this client for the rest of the client's life. It is just absolutely insane. And that's why it's so important that, yes, having a financial advisor, a financial planner in your life, obviously self-serving statement, we think that's a great idea. But the flip side to it is, if you're going to take that step of having an advisor in your life, you have to pick the right advisor who truly understands how to put together a true plan. Yeah, and that's not what that advisor knew.
That's not what that advisor knew. And when I got to that page in the tax return, I had a few choice 4-letter words that came out of my mouth when I realized what was going on. And I couldn't fix that problem. But, it really is, I think it's truly beneficial to you to have an advisor who understands all the aspects of retirement. It's not just stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. You have to think about the taxes. Taxes while you're alive, taxes when you pass away. You have to think about what happens to this money when I pass away. And that really is the benefit of working with true holistic financial planners like Mike and myself. And, if this is the type of relationship that you feel you're missing with your financial planner, or, the type of relationship that you're looking for in a financial planner, give us a call, 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040, or you can visit us on the website at thesavvyinvestorradio.com. That's thesavvyinvestorradio.com. As soon as you get to the page, there's a button right at the top. It says schedule my call. It looks at our calendar in real time. You can look at your calendar without ever having to pick up the phone, which I always joke is the number one way to earn my business for a new business, is to let me make an appointment online. It is so simple. thesavvyinvestorradio.com. Schedule your call today.
If you save $500,000 or more for retirement, this is where you're going to see the real planning really kick in. This is where you're going to see the benefits of the planning kick in. We encourage you to do so. Again, use our website, 2 V's in Savvy, thesavvyinvestorradio.com, or 866-597-1040. 866-597-1040 for that no-cost, no-obligation meeting with the team at ProStatus Financial. Well, guys, that is all the time that we have on the Savvy Investor Radio Show and podcast for today. Ryan, I'll give you the last word on this one.
This is Ryan Herbert. Thank you for listening to the Savvy Investor Radio Show and podcast.
And this is Mike Canet. We'll see you, the Savvy Investor, next week.
Advisory services offered through ProStatus Financial Advisors Group, a registered investment advisor. Insurance licensed in Maryland. ProStatus Financial Advisors Group, LLC is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if ProStatus Financial Advisors Group is licensed in your state, please call 410-863-1040. ProStatus Group, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through representatives of ProStatus Financial Advisors Group.